All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your number one news source for the Houston Rockets. If you guys enjoy this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. I post Rockets content along with NBA content every single day. I got you covered all preseason, all regular season. The Houston Rockets training camp is officially over, and preseason starts tomorrow. I guess I shouldn't say training camp is officially over, but Rockets' first preseason game is tomorrow at home against the Washington Wizards, followed by another game at home on Thursday against the Miami Heat. So, obviously, in these preseason games, we're not really looking for wins. We're really just kind of looking at individual players. How's the team meshing? Are there any combos, any pairings, any certain rotations that are doing better or worse than others? It's all about finding the right combinations for Coach Stephen Silas so that when the regular season starts here in about a week or two, I guess it isn't, it's more than a week, 2 weeks from now, he will have a much more firm idea of who does he want to see out in what kind of different rotations. So looking at our training camp roster, we have Jaylen Green, John Wall, who will not be playing, David Nwaba, Kevin Porter Jr., Daniel House Jr., Dante Exum, KJ Martin, Armani Brooks, Jayshawn Tate, and Josh Christopher. Now, all of those players I just named, first off, that's only half the team, but all of these guys are going to be must-watch. Every single player on the Houston Rockets is going to be must-watch. Jaylen Green will be making his debut. Finally isn't Summer League. He absolutely tore up the few Summer League games that he played. So all eyes are going to be on him, along with eyes on Kevin Porter Jr. We're going to be able to see our first glimpse of can KPJ and Jaylen Green. Are they going to run the floor? Are they going to be extremely fast? Is it going to be points galore? What's it going to look like? What are some of the plays going to look like? We'll know that immediately. David Nwaba, Daniel House Jr., Jayshawn Tate, and KJ Martin, they're all in their little own... They're all fighting, right? They're all fighting for minutes. You look at David Nwaba, he's most likely going to be coming off the bench. However, to me, he should start some games. He should finish some games, especially if he's feeling himself. But this is one of our most versatile defenders. And for David Nwaba, re-signing him in the offseason, it was absolutely huge. Hopefully he gets at least 20 minutes per game this next season. But I'm really interested to see what the preseason games look like with David Nwaba, Daniel House Jr., KJ Martin, and Jayshawn Tate. My guess is it goes in this order. Jayshawn Tate, Daniel House Jr., David Nwaba, KJ Martin. What really sucks about my prediction on the rotation for our small forward position is, first off, don't be too alarmed because there are multiple guys who can play multiple positions. David Nwaba can play a couple different positions. KJ can play a couple positions. Jayshawn can play a couple different positions. Daniel House Jr., if need be, can play the 4 spot. We'll see what they decide to deploy, but I think the worst part about that is just KJ Martin Jr. He didn't get too many minutes until the season really got going past the trade deadline last season. So my concern is that just with KJ Martin's age, he falls a little behind in the rotation at first, because if I'm the Houston Rockets, I want to find a trade partner for Daniel House Jr., and you're not going to be able to do that if he's not playing and increasing his value. So because we have all 4 of those guys, a guy like Josh Christopher, it's going to be a lot harder for him to get minutes. So that's why the preseason is just so huge, because, hey, he could make a real big name. I mean, if he came out in the preseason and starts putting up points, starts playing some great defense, maybe even leading to some nice victories, like, who knows? Josh Christopher might not spend majority in the G League. KJ Martin might not spend majority in the G League. We don't really know. That's the whole situation going on. On this left side of the roster, we also had Dante Exum and Armani Brooks, and for both of those 2 players, the minutes are going to be hard to come by, so this preseason is extra important to those 2 players. Now, looking at the other half of this roster, we have Eric Gordon, DJ Augustine, Deshaun Nix, Usman Garuba, Kyrie Thomas, Daniel Tice, Alfred Şengün, Tyler Bay, Anthony Lamb, and Christian Wood. Now, clearly the Houston Rockets need to get this roster down to 15 before the season starts. Now, Eric Gordon, DJ Augustine, their jobs are secure. Their jobs are 100% secure. Preseason will be a little interesting as well to just kind of see how the playing time is divvied up between those two off of the bench. Guys like Nix, guys like Bay, I think both of those two are going to have an issue getting a spot on the Houston Rockets. To me, it looks more like a G League or a cut for both of those two players, unless they have a very impressive preseason. Looking at Usman Garuba, Kyrie Thomas, I think that both of these two players will spend a good chunk in the G League. I think, honestly, Kyrie Thomas might spend the entire season in the G League. And for Kyrie, I'm going to make a whole video on Kyrie probably later today. First off, shout out to everyone who subscribed to my second channel. We got Balin, we got Gio, we got Cade, we got Matthew Vento. Shout out to those guys. The link to my second channel, my lifestyle channel, is down below in the description if you want to check that out. But guys like Kyrie Thomas, he only played 5 games for us last season. He did look really good, but my concern is we just have such a deep core or such a deep roster that I don't know how he's going to find minutes. I think for guys like Kyrie, he's going to need to rely a little bit more on like COVID and injuries. The Rockets are all vaccinated, so I don't think COVID will be really an issue. But if there's some injuries, I could definitely see Kyrie Thomas coming up. He's still good depth. He's just good depth, good insurance to have down there. For Garuba, I'm not too sure what's going to happen to Garuba because I would imagine he'll spend a good chunk of the first half of the season in the G League to kind of just have the ball in his hands a little bit more, to get a little bit more comfortable on the offensive side, because as of right now, I think if he were thrown into a regular season game, I think offensively he's going to just do pretty much nothing. So I think getting some reps in the G League is really only going to help him out. Daniel Tice, Alfred Şengün, this is going to be a little interesting battle too, because Alfred Şengün really impressed in the summer league. If he has a phenomenal preseason, he could just be ahead of Daniel Tice in the rotation. I mean, you really don't know. To me, Daniel Tice is still going to be our starting center. So for both of those two guys, as long as they stay healthy, as long as they show good flashes, especially on the defensive end, I'm going to be happy. Last two, we have Anthony Lamb and Christian Wood. Christian Wood we don't really need to talk about him. For the preseason, for the regular season, just want to see him stay healthy, want to see him make strides on the offensive and defensive ends, which, judging by quotes from training camp, it looks like that is exactly what he worked on in the offseason. Anthony Lamb, I'm a little worried about. I don't know if it's deserving. In Vermont, he absolutely hooped his ass off. In Houston, he hasn't really done anything. And for some reason, Houston organization is still just so high on this man that I don't really know what's going on. Like, I really just don't know. I feel like with the crazy amount of rosters we had last season, I'm actually just kind of surprised he is still on this team. Like, I'm just genuinely surprised he is still on this roster. I'm rooting for him because, like I said, at Vermont, he balled his ass off, but here in Houston, it just hasn't been the same story. This is an extremely vital preseason for Anthony Lamb. It's going to result in obviously it's going to result in one of these three, but he's either going to secure a spot on the rotation, go to the G League, or get cut. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Let me know what you're most excited about the Houston Rockets preseason. All my socials are down below in the bio. Hit the like button, hit that sub button. Peace.